What is up, everybody? We are going to get started here momentarily. I'm going to allow people to filter in a second. I'll get the screen up so you can see what I'm looking at. And this is the third episode of my streaming series that are restarted. Say hi in the chat, by the way. I will try to attempt to pronounce your name. What is up? And I'm going to go ahead and allow people to go ahead and make the announcement inside of Discord. And of course, if you want me to review your design, definitely check the YouTube description here. There's still time. The Discord server hasn't been quite as active in the past year or two. So you can get in there into my server and submit, and I should be able to get to your layout. And we're going to basically do something a little bit different this time, where I'm just going to talk about one thing to fix about the layouts, like the thing that needs to be fixed most. All right. Just for the fun of it, that's what we're going to do. I think we'll be able to filter through more. And, randomly, sometimes I whip out Figma and I'll do a little bit of a refactor. So we'll see. Awesome. Okay. So somebody said they're really frightened with Devin AI. I made a post about this on X yesterday and LinkedIn. A little bit of a lengthy post, but I'm not worried about Devin. I'm not worried about AI taking my job or whatever. I'll dedicate some time to answer this a little bit. First of all, I wasn't 100% personally impressed with Devin AI. The demo they did, it was like 90 seconds, and it did some stuff, with like AI agents and stuff, whatever. But for me, let's say, for instance, that Devin AI, for instance, maybe it's not even Devin, it could be something else. Just makes it so that your average Joe can just type in a prompt, give it a few paragraphs, and it'll come up with a beautiful looking website, awesome interactions and animations that I would rate a 10. And also it can make it dynamic. So it's integrating databases. It can make apps and stuff. Let's say that becomes a thing for your average Joe to handle. Well, first of all, we're far away from that still. I don't think it's going to be like an overnight thing. And I think with Devin AI, you're going to find that you're going to be locked into certain technologies, and it's just not going to be, initially, it's not really going to be something that people have to worry about, I would say, because it's going to be only for kind of specific use cases. That's why I imagine it'll be. But anyways, regardless, these things take time to really create a massive shift in an industry. It takes years. So you have time. In what I would say, which is what I said in my post, you need to ask yourself, what are your interests and hobbies? That you can apply your current UI, UX design, coding skills, whatever it is that you're good at, that you can apply to in terms of redirecting your skills as a developer into a entirely different niche where you can start doing side projects or hustles, indie hacking. You can make a lot of money still, and you're still going to be able to. And I think that really the takeaway here is, you need to start adding right now other skills to your skill set, mainly marketing, internet marketing, and I would say indie hacking and understanding what it means to be an entrepreneur. I think that's a great transition that people can make just in case the sky falls here within the next 5 to 10 years and there's no more designers or coders. There's always going to be designers and coders. There's just going to be a lot less of them, more highly skilled. But I'm not worried about it because I've always been able to pivot a little bit. And that's just what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to pivot. I'm not worried about it. I'm not going to freak the hell out. We live, as far as we know, only once in this lifetime. So don't freak out. Okay. That was enough of that rant. Sorry about that. Let's go ahead and basically get started here. Before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and get up. 1 second. You should be able to see my screen. I hope. There we go. Windows and Windows. UI UX design course. Now, most of you already know designcourse.com, I'm going to assume. One thing that we just recently released within the last day or two is down here, we have an all access pass. So you get access to my 3 primary courses for a big discount. This is $198 for all 3. Normally it'd be $297. but there's also discounts you can add on top of that and parity pricing if you qualify. So you'll be able to get all my courses, UI UX design, which is 16 hours, CSS course is an 8-hour course, and advanced front ends, which I just recently relaunched, is 8 hours as well. So you get all of that for like way cheaper than $198. Just find a coupon. Use stream 30, I think you can use for, or to get like additional stuff off. All right, I'm going to stop that and let's get started and take a look at the very first one. Now, I know the first submission here. I know who this person is because they were begging me to do this. So, oh yeah, we only have a few submissions. So definitely keep on, join up and submit your design if you want me to check it out. Now, remember, I'm going to be focusing on the one thing that I think needs to be changed the most. All right, so let's check out Mango's design. Let me adjust my monitor and also let me real quickly make sure everything is going good in here. Okay, awesome. All right, so let's go back to that Discord. I just want to make sure, okay, there's no other additional information and there's a bunch of screens here. It looks like there's a light mode and a dark mode. So, okay, I'm not sure what the main home page or landing page is. It looks like kind of like this is, I'll just start, let's see here, like right here. The colors are pretty solid. I like the shades that you're using with the grays and such. This type right here, you would want to have more contrast. That's definitely going to lack in contrast. So make that white or a lot lighter. Right here, I'd say this is pretty straightforward. There's nothing really I would change about it, except for just this piece of type right here. Real quickly, looking at this section, I feel there's a little bit more to be desired. It feels kind of more like a wireframe, like concept rather than being like a polished project. So for this, like right here, fill the following blanks given below to sign in. It's not even centered and it's offset to the left. You want to fix that as well. Don't make it extend outside of the container, or in other words, outside of the text field, right here to the very left and right. So there's what I see here, not too bad. Again, I want to move through these a little bit quick. Okay, there is one. Okay, this is the area that needs the most addressed right here. Your colors, like your panels, this is not working. I can see there's like a little bit of like red in here, and you're kind of mixing these very similar values, some desaturated, some not desaturated. You don't want to do that. Let me see if I can take this and maybe work and just play with the colors real quick to see what we've got going on here. So yeah, it's this element right here is just not matching up very well. If I take this design or this right here and put it against each other, it's just, this is not good color contrast. So what I would opt to do, for me, this is very blocky. There's a block here, there's a block here, there's a block here, block here. And this is also not very good contrast. What I would rather, like the approach I would rather see you take is do something like this. If I take, not the type tool, but the rectangle tool, and I extend it out, and we're going to put this at the bottom. There we go. And I make it way lighter. And then all of a sudden, I take these elements on top, like these cards, and make them white. See all these very similar but different color values? No, you don't want that. No. All right. So now what we would do is start working with these things. Like this is too high of a contrast area for these backgrounds. So I would take these, maybe reduce them to like this, and maybe give a subtle stroke, perhaps. You could do that if you wanted, and start really simplifying, your color selections that you had here. I think this is definitely an improvement over this. So let's take a look at the original right here, and then we'll swoop over here. And this is the kind of like the improved version. It's less blocky, if you know what I mean. I don't know. There should be a better term for that, but it's just blocky. There's big blocks all over. This is less noticeable. The reason being, you're drawing attention and focus and emphasis on the content, the card content itself. So you make it lighter, And then it gives you more contrast for these important elements on the inside. So, all right, that was a good one. Let me check out what is up. Greetings from Nigeria. Let's continue on. So next up is going to be, let me close that out. Get out Discord. All right. All right. Coded in a 1500 pixel browser width, how can I fix the hero design for 4K screens? Okay, so this is not like a Figma design. This is just a, what do you call, an actual realized project in the browser. So right now, unfortunately, I think I'm on a 1920 by 1080, a 2K res monitor. And that's just because of how I have my HDMI crap set up. So I can't really review this at a 4K resolution, but I can see if I shrink down everything, you're kind of keeping everything here at the bottom. You have a bunch of white space here. Again, I'm not sure how that would present on a 4K monitor, but honestly, I think this is just so large of an image. You probably reduce that a little bit, the height, and save and get this important information up a little bit higher in the viewport. That's not a huge deal. But let me just go through this design and figure out, what is the biggest area that needs to be improved for this. Okay. Just taking my time here, kind of figuring out what's happening here, what needs to be fixed the most. Probably want to do those green hovers, but yeah, like you can improve on this headline right here where it just says with love at the bottom. I would put that all on one line and make it probably bigger. I'm not sure about this really bright green color you're using on some of the type. I don't know, maybe make it slightly darker shade. But yeah, in terms of the biggest thing to improve, it probably would be this section just because there's a lot of white space here. So I would think about that. It's not a huge deal. This is for the most part pretty solid the way you've done it. So good job. One last thing I will note is right here, not enough contrast. I know they're placeholder values, but they still need to be readable. So make sure your placeholder text is, more like that. Awesome. Let's continue on. All right. Who is next? Go back here. All right. Here's mine. I'm a beginner dev though. All righty. Ready to view. Welcome here. All right. It's very interesting. Let's click to reveal. Buddy, that is really the definition of being right in your face. That's pretty hardcore right here. I would personally see, I don't like how it's jagged right here. Like if I zoom up, you can see it's pixelated. I would try to opt for something a little bit less in your face, maybe subdue it just a tad more. There's a lot of movement as well here, like a ton. But you know what? If this is like your first, what did you say? Was this your first project? A beginner dev. But for a beginner, you're getting these development concepts well, and you're also very creative. So that's very good as well. Yep, very familiar with this style of design. I forget what we called that. Let's see what else. HTML, CSS. Interesting. All right, cool. Now I feel like things are like for instance, some of my work's being right here, and it taking up a lot of space like that. It feels like there's not enough room in this section because the way a lot of space is being consumed by this navigation and this thing at the beneath it. So it's just one, little critique here. I would say that's probably the part that needs change the most. I don't like the fact that almost 1/4 or maybe 1/4 of the browser is a fixed position at the top. It feels like it's crammed. There's just a lot happening. So I would try to simplify things a little bit more than this. But I like where you're going with this. Very solid. Awesome. Let's continue on. Next up is still working on it. Should I keep the iframe or replace it? Oh, wait, no. Almost skipped that person. Loki Studios, web development and design studio from the future. Wow. Okay. That's a big claim. All righty. All right. Just checking some things out here. Checking these sections. Can I move these? All right. That's cool. I really like that. So by clicking and dragging, we're shifting the background image or the image inside of it. Very nice. That was cool. I like that you have your pricing right here. I think having just straight up pricing is going to result in clients, not dropping off quite as fast. What I mean by that, a lot of people don't like to have to hit up people and ask them for their pricing. When you just put it out here, I like that. All right. This is actually pretty solid. I think this area, maybe you could do a little bit something more with this. I just feel maybe do some type of interesting type-based mask reveal animation. Just to, I mean, look, how was it initially? Here, let me refresh. I don't know. I hate when you refresh and it just refreshes a different part of the page. Yeah, so I think you could do something cool with some, like I said, like a mask reveal effect. Check out jitter.video, JITTER.video, and it'll help you very rapidly prototype these type of UI animations, like in a quick web-based timeline format. I just did a tutorial on that, and you can experiment very easily by importing your Figma designs and just going just rapidly creating those cool prototypes. Okay, next up is going to be, let's get back to Discord here. All right. So this is from Hack the Gate. Still working on it. Should I keep the iframe or replace it? Well, let's find out. Turn your idea stream into a revenue stream. I like that. Very good headline. With a focus on delivering high quality work and unique, profitable digital solutions through custom websites and apps. Okay. Contact. I think we need a better call to action right there instead of just contact. Do something like not like hire me is a little bit better than contact. You can get more outside of the box with that as well. So I think, that would be one potential thing to work on. Not sure what this is. Is this the iframe you're talking about? Oh, okay. So what you're doing is embedding the actual website in an iframe on your portfolio. That's an interesting concept. Yeah, I kind of do like that. It's an interesting concept. But you know what I would do outside of that is, okay, so you made it so that people can click and access it within their own browser window, which is good, but it's not obvious. So there should be like a link or something here that has an external link point, like an arrow, indicating that you can open this up in a new window. Now, I would put that in the anchor text next to it. And then also you do have some color contrast issues right here. Like right here, that's no good. This dark desaturated gray with this dark blue, you don't want that. So you want to make sure you adjust and probably use a light color, not a dark mode browser window. Pretty solid though. So yeah, this is pretty good. All right, awesome. Let's continue on. Who's up next? Next up is going to be, let's see. This is not my final portfolio, just a clone of a design from Dribble and my creativity. It's responsive too. Try it. I hope you like it. Resize your window to see how it looks like in a 14-inch desktop. Okay. All right. Again, crafting digital excellence, transforming ideas into stunning websites. Get started. Okay. So I would probably want to work a little bit on this type section right here. Also, I can see pixelation. These edges are not crisp and clean like you would see with an SVG. So I could tell that this is probably just like a JPEG or a PNG or something that's rastered. I would definitely, I mean, you can still use, you can still use rastered images for this, but it needs to be higher quality so you don't have these edges and these pixelations occurring. Also, not too much of a fan of just these little yellow dots around here. I'm not sure about that. Continuing down. Yeah, like these cards would definitely need a lot of work. But I will do one thing. Also, another thing that can be confusing, for instance, your message box has an outline all the way around, but your text fields don't. And there's been usability studies about this. Some people get confused and think they're line separators, and they don't even know where to click. So best bet is to either give it a background color and or a stroke as well that goes all the way around. But up here at the top, I would like to see you see your name. I wouldn't emphasize this more so than the headline. I would make this much smaller. And so what I would do is just take F12 here. Oh, he did tell me he wanted me to check it out on, see, like you having issues right here. That gets started is overlapping your type. See this stuff right here? Kind of want to avoid that from happening. So that's just based on how you structure your HTML markup and your CSS. So that would be important. So I would take this text right here and make it a lot smaller, like a lot smaller. And then that way the emphasis is placed on the headline, which is kind of informing, instructing people what how you're going to benefit them. So your name doesn't become as important as that. So in terms of visual hierarchy, you emphasize the headline. Okay, sweet. Let us continue. Next up, this is, oh, no, that's not it. Okay. So hello, I'm not a designer, but I tried my best designing this. It's not complete. I'm planning to add more sections. Okay. Not a designer. It's always a scary thing sometimes. This isn't too bad. Okay. I like the little motion blip that you got there. Might be a little bit too much with the white outline as well. Got smooth scroll. Very interesting. I like that. That was a cool sort of type-based effect that was tied to the scroll position. It only happens once though. So what are you using? Okay, you're not using anything fancy like green sock. You don't have to. Yeah, so this right here, the way you're kind of like doing this thing right here, it's a little too much with the outline. You really want to simplify the cursor as much as possible. All right. I like these interactions. Very nice. That's a cool effect. Well, if you're not a designer, you're definitely on your way to being one. This is a lot better than I see some seasoned designers even. So this is solid. Yeah. Definitely very good. I like it. All right. Next up is, let's check how our stream's doing. 219 people, 23 minutes in. Oh, you are using GSAP. It didn't show up in the thing, the Wappalizer. I don't see GreenSock here. Interesting. Maybe WordPress is doing something weird with it. Okay, awesome. Let's continue on. Let's see. Made it 4 days ago to show companies. I know project section looks gross. We'll improve it. That's cool. That is cool. Look at these unique things we're doing now these days. What is this? Green sock. Awesome. I think, though, kind of almost suffers from the same issue before. I don't like these UI designers with the UI developer, problem solver, web developer kind of just hanging out over here with the drop shadow. I would try to do something maybe a little bit more different in that context. But this is cool. This is definitely cool. Yeah, you have some things here that are happening that are kind of just, you're adding too much to the card. So for instance, right down here, we have a kind of a hard drop shadow. You also have a what do you call it? A really high contrast black 1 pixel border that's connecting to it. All these things combined can just give a design a feeling of it being outdated, because those are things that we used to do back in the day in this context like this. So you can do strokes, you can do shadows, but they need to be done properly. When you're dealing with lightly colored backgrounds like this and you try to add like a gray drop shadow on it, it's just sometimes it kills the vibe and makes it look too gray. Yeah, if this was in Figma, I'd be able to play around with it a little bit to kind of show you what I mean. But that's probably the one area that I would improve. Like you said in Discord, you said it sucks, so you're working on it. That's fine. But yeah, I like this. This is very clever. People will like that. Awesome. Next up, let's see here. Can you zoom in this design once? I actually fixed the HT for hero section. I can't able. Did I already see this? I already saw that. Yeah, we got to get to other people though. Would appreciate feedback on my portfolio. All righty. I'm Alex, beautiful UI UX. Yeah, we could improve this section over here. I like that you're mixing the italicized serif font, but I think the proximity in this area can be improved. We'll take a look at it. Yeah, one thing I don't like here is where it says spreading love and how it's very close to the edge. You want to avoid that typically. So there's a couple ways to do either add a lot more white space, keep it all the way in, or you can overlap depending on the contrast of the type and depending on the image itself. So I would fix that for sure. Yeah. So this section, like I said over here, let me see what I can do. We'll see if this is easy enough. Sometimes these are a little bit tricky to mess around with depending on how the markup is set up. But what I would like to do is just kind of like, yeah, let's take this. Let's just take this section and I'm going to go into Figma. Shoot, it starts showing up on a different browser. Never mind. Let me just go to figma.com and we'll go to new. What the hell? For some reason, I was like not finding where to start the a new document in Figma. Isn't that weird? I think I might be having a stroke. Let's get a presentation style frame. All right, so we're going to work with this. I like this type. What is that type anyhow? I think it's right here. I have what font? There you are. Play fair display. Okay. And then enter. That's a good font combo that works well for mixing serif and sans serif fonts. So if I go back, we're going to do, let's see, what's that called? Play fair. That's right. Play fair display. Why is it not working? Oh, it didn't change. Play fair display. Okay. So I'm going to put beautiful here. If I can spell it. B-E-A-U-T-I-F-U-L. Okay. And then we're going to beef that up and we'll keep it italicized as well. We're going to do the tag up here. I am Alex. And then we will make that regular and a lot smaller as well. I like the extended letter spacing for something like this, so that works. All right, and now let's go ahead and take this one. We'll make it regular. You could do something even interesting like this. Make it a little bit smaller. Again, I'm just kind of getting things lined up here. We'll do our own little slash. So we'll use the line tool, L. something like right around there. We'll see what that looks like. All right. And then we'll take a type tool. We'll use enter as enter was used over there. Let's go back to the project and I'll just copy this type real quick. Get back there. Make this small. Okay, a lot smaller. All right, and then we'll increase the line height. Or the line height right there. Now, my immediate reaction here, obviously in the context of this massive design, is I made that way too small because I was just focused in on here. But that, just ignore that though. What I mainly wanted to fix was the spacing between those elements. And we can experiment and make this bold perhaps. See if you like that a little bit. Push this down. And really, this type of thing is one of those things you want to spend a lot of time with, figuring out what proximity makes most sense, especially when you have 3 different type treatments next to each other. Let me make this like way larger, like freaking 300. There we go. These things all need to come up like way more. There we go. This could be like maybe not 100, maybe like 70 or a little smaller. We're going to make this way better. Okay, so this fits the context of our design way better than what it was. So let's bump this up. Perhaps we could put this over here. Let's get this like over here. Beef up the size of that. Maybe we could put it down there. Maybe we could put I am Alex up here. Put this maybe like over here. Give ourselves a good amount of white space. There, you kind of, this way, like this approach is a more modern kind of typographic approach with the large type for like the hero section on a desktop. And then you could do something interesting, you know, in the rest of the space, perhaps with something that's very minute, very interesting. You could have really good looking type-based animation, like a sequence for each character to come in with a split type plugin with green sock, and you could really make something cool with this. Yeah, awesome. Let me go back to the comments, make sure I'm still good. All right, so we got 250 people watching. 250 people. We're going to keep going, but just to spam you a little bit, I definitely check out the new package deals. We have all access pass now, where you get access to all my courses for a lot cheaper. So it's $198 for all 3 courses, which is normally $300. But you can even get more off of that if you qualify for parity pricing, or you use a code like launch or 30. There's several codes out there that will knock off even more from this. So definitely check that out if you want to up your game for UI, UX, CSS, and advanced front ends utilizing JavaScript and GreenSock. The next course I'm working on is called From Figma to Framer. So it's a Framer course, a Figma and a Framer course, where you learn how to take designs made in Figma that I'll design and make them a reality, an interactive animated reality within Framer. I'm doing some other things too here. I have a free Framer template. Yeah, so I'm getting into the template space a little bit. And I have my reasons for that. It's 100% free. The reason is it's what you call a lead magnet, and that helps you generate emails. So if you, this is a hack that you people watching this, designers, coders, should be using for your own business. Because building an email list is just everything. Email outperforms all other channels of traffic typically. I would take an email list of 1 million emails over having a YouTube channel with 1 million subscribers. That's how much better email is when it comes to promoting things and selling things. And so by making templates for free, that's going to give me a lot of emails with designers and coders. So think like that, kind of like outside the box. When you approach your own projects, it doesn't have to be in a design or code space. Like I said at the beginning of this, with all this AI shit coming out and everything kind of changing rapidly. Here, I should just change just to this screen right here. You should definitely consider adding marketing and internet marketing to your skill set. I'm going to start hammering this in a lot just to try to prepare people for, you know, what inevitably is going to be coming here, even if it's not through AI. You know, the way things works in technology is things get easier for people. That means websites will get easier for people to build and design. Okay. When is it happening? Anybody who tells you it's going to be within a year or 5 or 10 is just, they're guessing. They are guessing. There's a lot of hype around AI right now. So, you know, just don't freak out, but start adding internet marketing to your skill set. I'll stop talking about that now. Okay. Let's see what people are saying here. I'm about to leave Framer. Well, you know, what I'm doing is I'm learning Framer big time so that I can then teach it. And I already have an hour to the course. Once you understand HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and you've done it for as long as I have, picking up a tool like Framer is very easy. Because typically you don't have, you know, advanced front-end developers or whatever working in no-code tools, but I want to teach it because it's a good market. In a few months, I'm going to teach Webflow as well, or Wix Studio. Wix Studio is pretty solid. It's their new product. Anyhow, let's continue on. See if we got some more here. All righty. So I'm not sure if I saw this one. Oh, okay. That's the one I just did. Sweet. All right. So let's go back. If possible, please look at, oh, shoot. Make sure you guys can see my, there we go. Awesome. Let's go back to, where the heck was I at? There we go. Please look at the subpage English. I'm going to switch this to English. Okay. I think, okay, so this right here, I don't like the colors with this one right here. It's a little bit also too busy. I like what you're doing, but I think there's so many lines around here. If you could simplify this design, include less lines, it would be better and more effective. Let's continue on. I'll click on the English part. All right. You could make this bigger. This type can be bigger on, you know, because you have a lot of space here and there's a lot of vertical space left. Make this a lot larger. So if I take this and I go over here, I'm not sure what's happening. Oh no, we're using, this must be some type of like, yeah, not used to seeing like the font HTML property. It tells me like some type of like editor is used with this probably. Okay, anyways, I would make that larger. You says this has 2.75 rem, so let's go like 4. That's way better. So like 4 fills it out way better. So if I refresh, you'll see the original. All right. Okay. See, like this card being like, it has like a little bit of color to it, looks like. I would rather have a background that's like this color or desaturated gray with just a white card on top of it to bring emphasis to it. But the one thing that I would change most about this design, I would say, yeah, this is actually pretty solid. I mean, it would probably be this thing. This just needs to be simplified a little bit more. There's too much happening here. There's text in it. I would avoid text for the most part. especially the text this small. Alrighty, awesome. Let's continue on. We are going to this one, I think. All right. Mahesh, I think. Full stack developer based in, all right. All right. So first of all, get rid of your name. You're making your name the focal point. That doesn't immediately address what the website is for or about. So what I would do is take this off, use a different headline entirely. You already have your name right here. And you could put it down here as well. My name is blah, blah, blah. Like that's all you need to say. People don't care about your name. They care about what you can do for them. All right. Very monochromatic approach. If you look here, there's a lot of, high contrast borders. The message is a little bit the message window is too small. It almost looks like the height of your regular text fields, but I would make that bigger. Work in some interaction and some animation with a developer portfolio or a designer portfolio, whatever you are. It's nice to be able to showcase and relax a little bit and have fun with your portfolio. So working in some micro animations and micro interactions at least would make things a little bit more interesting, especially when the page first loads. So think about that for sure. Awesome. So I would say that's like one of the main things I would do. This picture of you behind here, you're overlapped. It serves no purpose because you really can't see you. And it's just kind of centered there and it's uninspired a little bit, I would say. So think about that. I would probably remove that picture altogether and rethink this layout in your headline as well. Awesome. Continuing on. Hopefully I don't make anybody too mad and salty. I'm sure I do. But I'm just telling you my honest opinion here. It has potential. All right. Next up is going to be this one, I think, Het. All right. So same thing. Same thing as the last one, although this one definitely needs more work. Just having this tiny amount right in the center with your headline up here, it's like you're going to immediately kill the vibes from a lot of potential clients or employers, depending on what you're doing. And not enough is really just elaborated right here. So we do have projects and contact. That's good, but I think you can definitely make better use of your space available here. So just looking at the projects here. Yeah, small things like getting rid of the white outline. You don't need that on these buttons. Yeah. So who you are, software developer. Let's do something more interesting with your ad copy. Ask ChatGPT to help even. All right. Continuing on. Here's my portfolio. Still a work in progress. I'm considering moving away from Framer. Check it out. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Why are you considering moving away from Framer? If you want to answer that in the chat, because I think you're in the chat. I'm just genuinely curious, like what pain points you're experiencing. All right. So this is interesting because you have your kind of like what's a navigation, a pill-based navigation here right in the middle. Okay, so it disappears thereafter. All right. Yeah, just some small stuff right here. Like for instance, a little bit better typographic visual hierarchy between headline and description right here. So what I mean by this is if I get out the I'm hitting the wrong button. There we go. If I get out the dev tools and I select this element right here, we take a look at the font size. Let's see here. What am I doing? Oh, let's see. Okay, good. So if I do like let's just do run rem and then align height. Right around there. All right. So that's a 1 rem font size on the headline. So it's or the description. So it's a smaller compared to this type right here. All right. These two are significantly different. Now, if you look over here, they're not quite as different. This is slightly larger and bold, but you want to have a little bit more separation in that context. Checking out other things. There's some other small things like, okay, so for your email, I would definitely have an embedded contact form, and Framer makes that easy. Because this is kind of getting lost right here. If it's a clickable element, I would style that differently. But you want to have your email. You also want to have an embedded contact form. You want to have your social media. You want to have your phone number. If you're really serious, you're going to put your phone number on your website. Deal with the spam. Maybe get a second number if you don't want to deal with the spam calls or whatever. My phone number's all over the place. I really don't get that much spam compared to most people. But you want to make it as easy as possible for anybody to contact you, not just have one way through email. So it might be cool to take like this About Me projects and AF resume. You can make that sticky based on scroll and like kind of keep it there. That way it's more of like a little bit of a nav, but it's a simple site. Innovation through the power of human creativity and collaboration. So this is a good headline, but I think you need to have a secondary, like a sub headline to kind of, because this emphasizes benefits, which is great, but then you need to talk about your features, because just in this area alone, with the illustrations being abstract, and this type right here, you're not sure what that means. Like, what is it that you do? Are you a graphic designer? Could you be something else? So a secondary headline, like literally mentioning what your job description and title is, would be a good idea. All right. So let's check out. And I did ask a question. Okay. Responsive issues. Find it difficult to adapt my layouts in Figma for responsive design. As a front-end developer, I'm aware that I have more freedom in developing it in React, but it also comes with extra work. All right. Find it difficult to adapt my layouts in Figma for responsive design. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it depends on what those difficulties are. If you don't know if you're not sure about setting up and structuring your initial starting desktop viewport in Framer, then and you go to create like a secondary, like a tablet version, and you start tinkering around with things, ideally it should be minimal adjustments as possible. And that's made possible if you set everything up correctly in your first desktop layout, essentially. So that's one of those things that, it might be something that you're already aware of and you still just hate it, and that's fine. Or it could be, there could be a potential better workflow out there that might make it easier. So yeah, just a random thought there. What is up, Jignesh Mystery? Did I pronounce your name right? Let me know. Probably not. Very sorry. I try. So anyhow, let's look at another one. By the way, if anybody wants to ask me any type of questions about my business, about their business, let me know, and I will definitely read it, because sometimes I like doing that better than just looking at designs and reviewing them. I'll be honest with you. All right. So, hey, Gary, I have my portfolio website for the last 6 months. It's nothing special and needs a lot of work and content. Maybe you could be so awesome to add some suggestions, tips, and mistakes if it's designs. Thank you in advance for any feedback. Love your channel. Awesome. Let's check it out. Latest version of my portfolio website featured, make sure you guys can see everything, 3D models. For the best experience, please access the site on a desktop device. Don't do this. Don't do that. That's the first thing. That's the first tip I'm going to give you. And this is probably the biggest killer right here too. You don't want to have like a modal that's popped up that says enter website. Here's the thing. So you can detect if a person is on a desktop device through code like JavaScript. And that's what you should be doing. If it's so important to you that, people see your 3D elements, then you don't have to make this pop up for me, because I'm on a desktop already. So I don't need to see this. It's requiring extra work for me. Don't do that. Secondary, the latest version of my portfolio website features 3D models. For the best experience, please access the site on a desktop device. It's like, okay, so why, I mean, this is nonsense. Like if you have some 3D elements like this, that's not a big deal. Like for a phone, it's not going to really change the experience that much on desktop. So I would definitely remove that. That's a big no-no. Let's see what else you have going on here. So we have some layout weird issues right here. For instance, just this is basically a 2-column layout up here at top. You have one column here. It ends about 50%, and then a blank area here. And then you have these cards that are just centered aligned underneath them. So it feels like it's a broken layout right now. You need to put something over here. And there's a couple things that you could do to fill that space. You could take this paragraph and maybe put it over there, although it's still stretching pretty long. So you'd want to create a fixed width on a large desktop to avoid really long lines of text. They've done experiments about, and testing about what is the ideal length of a piece of type. And this is probably even a little bit too far or too wide because people get eye strain and they don't, like, their neck is like going all over the place. So think about that. Maybe restructure this area a little bit. Not a fan of the outline here, the gradient outlines. And also notice where your little bullet points are. They're centered. They should be up the top right here. They should be up top, not centered. It helps with the flow a little bit better. You're also having issues with your typography. It looks like you added a little bit of letter spacing between each character. And when you have this much type, it makes it not look as good. And B, it's a little bit more difficult to read typically for most people. So think about that. This section right here, it's just too busy. There's a lot of pixelation occurring. You can kind of see like this gray right here with the logo in the middle. It doesn't contrast with bad colors. I would revamp this section entirely and stick something, just get rid of this background and then just make them all like either full color or like monotone, like just white and black logos. It's going to simplify things big time because there's a lot of visual color and clutter, I guess you could say right here. So I would say those are the main things to worry about here. Look at this. What is that? Look at this. He's got like that is hilarious. That's funny. That's probably what it is too. That's what the moon is. It's just fake. They're messing with us. Awesome. Alrighty. Alrighty. I'm not sure if this is, have I done this one yet? Oh, no, I haven't. This looks like a poster or like a flyer. I mean, I would change a few things about it. I don't like the slightly indented space over here. We're going to be done here real soon. Like here's the original. If I move this over, like I would take these and like push them over here, push them up, make them smaller and make them wider. Although what's happening there? Oh, okay. And then that way you can kind of reduce your spacing. Get this over here. This doesn't have to be quite as tall then. That's not working now. And those are too big too, honestly. Like you could do this sort of thing, but I wouldn't make them quite as big. Here, let's just copy and paste them. Now contact us. Let's see here. Trying to think how I want to approach this. It's kind of, oops, let me move this over. I would center that. Push this down. Whoop. Wait, what happened there? Oh, darn it. We'll lock that layer so I don't grab it. Maybe I wouldn't even do that center divider thing right there. Made me think you probably need that contact. It's self-evident and it's obvious in my opinion that, this is the contact page. Trying to think of a better way. Maybe we could do this. So we could just split them on 2 lines. I'm just about done. What did that say? The location of the rule. Location of the rule. How to apply. I like putting periods at the end of things sometimes, headlines and stuff. This looks like crap right now. Probably should use components, but I didn't want to like screw around a little bit too much just to try to get this stuff right. What I'm trying to do is create, make sure that these are kind of equal height, like roughly or so. I think if we had longer type here, it would fill this area out a little bit more. So maybe just one line of type. Dollar sit, whatever that means. There. And it would be filled out more, with different type. I think that's a better approach. Small change, no big deal. Awesome. So let me go back here and let's check out the chat and let me answer some questions. So let's see. I wonder if I could make this show up on my screen a little bit more easy. Like if I hit show, where does that show up? Oh, it shows right there. Okay. So now I can switch back here and I can answer these questions. All right. So I'll answer the first question. And this is from Herb Owenby. If that's how you pronounce it, I don't know. Whatever. How's business? What are you up to? Okay, so that's a big loaded question. Business for me in terms of earnings have been down. And they've been down probably the past year and a half or so. And because of the studio build, which took me like 6 months of just working every day, the business has I wasn't able to put out quite as much content or as quality of content as I wanted to. So now like my YouTube views are down, earnings are down. I'm still making decent money, more than most people, but if I don't turn things around quickly, it's going to keep going down. So that's what I'm doing. I restarted my live streams and I'm doing some different things with the indie hacking, my personal projects that I have on here. Those aren't very popular. So those videos have not got a lot of views, but when I see them through, I'm hopeful that they perhaps will get a lot of views because they're in playlist format. And if I could say, hey, okay, this is why my indie hacking project failed. I documented the whole thing. Check it out. Maybe that'll get some traction on sites like indiehackers.com or something like that. Or if it succeeds and I actually sell it and I'm able to make at least a few $1,000s, that as well is learning lesson. So that's what I'm doing in that regard. Yeah, there's a lot of things I'm experimenting with and throwing ideas around because I have not monetized my business anywhere near as effectively as I could have. Right now, I have a framer course that I'm working on that I hope to release by the end of next month. And that'll be probably at least a 4 to 5 hour course. So that'll do well. My course launches are typically they do well. For instance, like the last course, Advanced Front Ends, I launched that a pre-launch. So it was only like 30% complete. And in October of last year, I did a 7-day pre-launch where you get to access it early. I've done that with my 3 main courses. And that month or that week, I think I made, I think it generated like $20,000 in sale for that in that week. But combined with my other income, it was, I think I want to say like 40,000. So $40,000 in a single week sounds insane. But when I'm at a point now where my daily income really isn't all that much higher because I've been suffering a little bit with the lack of views. So while it's awesome, I can make that much money in a 1 week. It's starting to be like, okay, some months, I'm making way less than that. So it's not, unfortunately, I can't just produce a course every month of that quality and expect that. So, I'm playing around with different ideas and we'll see. I might even I'm tinkering around with the idea of like a design subscription service. And we all have heard of designjoy.com, where he's charging $5,000 a month and has like 20 clients making $150,000 a month. I might do something similar, but with a twist, and incorporate the fact that, I'm a UI UX instructor with a 1 million subscriber YouTube channel. If you want to hire me to be your designer and I'll take on like 1 or 2 clients, then you're going to pay, 4 figures. I'm not sure where it would be. I'm not sure if it'd be 5,000, 3,000, maybe it'd be about 8,000. I don't know. But then that way their work can be also featured if they want it to be on my channel as case studies, and they get like an indirect form of exposure that way. Let's do the next one. How did I get my first freelancing gig? And just wondering if you could tell us that. Well, that would require me to go all the way back to like 1998 or 97 when I was in 8th grade or 9th grade. Because I would hang out on webmaster forum. We called them webmasters back in the day, if you didn't know that. I'm 40, by the way. I'm old. But I got started on computers, like in 5th grade. And back in the day, if you were somebody who owned a website, you were called a webmaster. And so we had webmaster forums built on vBulletin and PHPBB, which were vBulletin and message board scripts. Some are still around today. The most popular one ever, I think, is bodybuilding.com's forum. And they just have a massive vBulletin forum. Anyway, they would have contests and stuff. And these design contests, they'd be like, okay, I need a logo. I'll pay the best one $300, and that was the first way I made money, is by doing like contests and stuff. So I'm not sure if you would call that a freelance gig, but that's my first way of earning money online. Then my first like real freelance gig, it came around the same time. People saw that I was a decent designer, and they would just hit me up through forums and stuff, and I would charge really cheap and all that. So that's how I started freelancing. Then my actual freelance career, I built hundreds of sites and thousands of logos for a period from about 2007 to about 2012. I was almost doing like a logo design every day, and I was making over 100,000 a year, and it was solid. But then Google stopped sending me traffic, and so I had to pivot. What I have been doing now is to create a site and framer and bring each part separated one at a time. Okay. You could do that for sure. I'm planning to design my portfolio in Webflow. Where can I find design suggestions? So that's a massive amount. I mean, you can find my channel. I have 1,200, videos on UI, UX design, all these topics, many other creators out there. If you want other inspiration sites, dribble.com, DRIBBLE.com. There's behance.net. There's X. If you actively try to follow people who are also UI UX designers, you're going to see work and you get helpful suggestions. So yeah, there's a million places to get that. How do you work? Do you work remotely or in person? Could you describe your team dynamic and what else? Okay, so I work remotely in this studio. This studio is literally 20 feet from my house, and I just had it built last May. And probably all in all, I haven't figured out how much it cost, but it's probably close to 100,000. It sucks. 24 by 48 by 16. I've always worked remotely. I've never worked in a physical storefront ever in any capacity. Because I started as a teenager, young, like a very young person. I was probably 11 or 12 when I first got my computer, thinking about it. I was always gravitated towards that, always trying to make money. So I never had to get a real job. So I love it. I would die if I had to get a real job, probably, or I think I would at least. I'd be fine. And also, my team is designcourse.com. I have a partner, and he's the one who built designcourse.com from scratch. JVS is his nickname. And basically, he handles all the coding stuff for designcourse.com. Outside of that, there's nobody else, literally. I did hire somebody to do a framer template. I may be making more of those. I really just to help me, really figure out the system to really create a great course. But I need to get a video editor, somebody who can just take raw footage that I create for my videos so that I don't have to bother editing them, because editing sucks. It just takes a lot of time. And as a creator, I can make more content if I could just focus on that part. And I have not yet done that. Over 1,200 videos, all have been me stupidly, so I have a problem with delegation, and that's a real problem. And that's going to be a learning curve for me that I have to go through to be, just basically put out more content. What do you think about Elementor Pro? Is it comparable to Framer? So I've used Elementor, with WordPress only like a few times, and I can't really, I can't give my opinion about it because I just don't use it enough. So thank you so much for the comments. Noted everything. Yep. Awesome. I've been trying out a few no-code platforms. Webflow has great flexibility and more advanced features, while Framer is simple. All right. Yeah, I'm good. I'm definitely, I've done a Webflow crash course once or twice, but I've never been a big user of Webflow myself. So I'm excited to be able to jump into Webflow after I'm done with Framer and like fully putting out an awesome course. All right. I think I already saw that. Okay. I think I already saw that question. Oh, it's Kevin. Live on Twitter too. What are you using to keep track of the chat across everything? What is up, Kevin, pal? For those of you who don't know Kevin, I'm sure you already know. The dude's way more popular than me. Kevin has a huge YouTube channel on CSS, the CSS master. I'm using StreamYard.com. Yeah, it's like $50 a month, I think. And this is what aggregates everything. You get to choose which platforms you stream to and stuff. John, what is up? What do you think is the most important skill set if you're new to front-end development? I am 1 year through Fed. I'm not sure what Fed is. And there is much to do. Is there some areas who are smart to be really good? Okay. So what is the most important skill set if you are new to front-end development? Okay, here's what it's going to be. It's understanding the core basics. That's HTML, CSS. I would start with those two things. Those are the two, pillars of front-end development and the basics. Do that before you move into vanilla JavaScript. Now, I say vanilla because I mean JavaScript written just as JavaScript. Don't utilize frameworks. Don't get into React. Don't get into Vue. Don't get into, Svelte, all the other Angular, don't get into those. Understand what it means to be just to understand the basics of JavaScript. So once you understand your HTML, CSS, which means you can piece together layouts and make them responsive, and you can do all that. And trust me, that is a whole skill in and of itself. Kevin has a whole channel on it. Has made a massive, great career out of covering just CSS alone. It's one of those things that you as a front-end developer, you need to understand, unless you're going the 100% no-code, low-code route. I still think you should understand HTML and CSS, even if you're doing that. But as somebody who's just I'm a front-end developer who works with code. You start off with HTML, CSS. Then you work into JavaScript. Just to back up, you should be able to take a design that's made in Figma by a professional UI UX designer and make it a reality in the browser with HTML, CSS without utilizing Tailwind or whatever. Like, that's the ideal route if you really fully want to understand what's happening behind the scenes with your code. And then you can kind of get into other things like Sass. That's CSS on steroids a bit. You can get into things like Tailwind, because you have that foundation first. Then you can get into JavaScript, like I said, the vanilla way, understanding how to manipulate the DOM, the document object model, all that stuff, understanding what property, like variables and what functions are and how to loop over things. Once you understand, and by the way, I have a free course on that. I just do a channel search for JavaScript course, you'll find it. And then you can get into the frameworks like React and all that stuff. So that I would say that would be the linear progress, learning progress, the path that you should follow. If that answered your question, I'm not sure if it did, but you are not old. I'm 41 and I'm still very young. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't feel old. I made a post about my workout routine on X today. And I'm not going to lie, I do 2-a-days, 5 days a week. I in the morning, I go to the gym for 45 minutes to an hour. I'm not there forever. And then later on, like 4 or 5 p.m., I go run at least a 5K, and that's 5 days a week. So in doing that, I'm way more healthy than I ever was, and I'm 40. So yeah, it is just a number for the most part. A lot of people think the older you get, you have to slow down. Wrong. Opposite. Unless you're like a crazy athlete when you were in your 30s, you're not going to outwork yourself, obviously. But most people aren't that. You need to keep moving as much as possible. Freelance platform you recommend? I'm not okay. So you're talking like Upwork or something like that. I'm not a big fan of freelance platforms. I like kind of taking the route of social media and building up your own brand yourself. Of course, you can supplement it with those other those services. But for me, I've never really relied on those. I've always just had my own traffic and all that stuff, and people came to me to get work. All right. No problem. Which one is, all right, so this is a question. Which one is more promising job opportunity for next few years, a web designer or front-end developer? Okay, so you might be mixing terms a little bit because a lot of this is up to definitions. A web designer is a term that it was used a lot more like 10 years ago, 10, 15, 20 years ago. And it kind of was just, it encapsulated multiple respects. Web designer could actually have been used back in the day almost as a full stack design developer. Hey, I'm a web designer. So typically though, web design is the same thing as front-end develop or UI UX design. So it depends. I would say the term web design means you can both design and code a website in like the front end of it, not necessarily the back end. In front-end development means you're not a UI UX designer, you're strictly a coder. So what do I think is a more promising job opportunity? It's going to be the person who understands both design, who can tackle the UI UX, but also tackle the code as well. That would be my opinion. But that was not going to go by the terminology of like web designer. You might find something like design generalist, perhaps. I've made my own term. A few people have used it as well, called full stack designer. That's somebody who can do the UI UX and the front end development as well. What are the necessary steps to take before starting to design an application? Depends on the project, 100%. Depends on what the project is. Is it for yourself? So if it's a project for yourself and not somebody else, which are called stakeholders, I don't like that freaking name, then your approach is going to be vastly different. If it's for yourself, in my opinion, you don't typically have to, and depending on the project, if it's a really simple project, you don't have to have user flow maps and all this wishy-washy UX stuff that, in my opinion, will just slow you down. You don't have to do that. For me, when I start on a project, and I talk about this in my AR trainer indie hacking app, and there's a playlist you can find on my YouTube channel that talks about kind of what I did when I started a project. So I came up with this idea, and I went straight to Figma and started designing like a rough UI of it. And that's how I start. Like, I don't mess around with a lot of like thinking and all this intense. I like to do stuff and get stuff done quickly. So again, that's kind of a loaded question. It's hard to answer. How can we join your team? Well, my team is literally just one other person right now, so it's very exclusive. You could join my team if you buy enough of my courses, and I can pay more people. I am a shitty business person. I'm be honest. Okay. This is from Tony. One question: why don't you make a tutorial on WordPress with Elementor? That is the best and cheapest way for UI UX designers to try front end web development, and it's simple to use and drag and drop. So for me, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't use WordPress. I've used it in the past, but I just don't personally prefer to use it. I feel that it's big and clunky. That may or may not be true these days. I don't know, but I know it powers most of the web. It's just not something that I've ever personally would like to tackle. I kind of feel like Webflow and Framer are kind of like the new WordPresses, and they're the modern versions of what you can do. So for me, it's more of like an outdated tech, and it's just, I'm not interested in it. I could be wrong about that because maybe it's changed a lot. I just haven't followed up on it yet. No problem. And one more. What about the careers for front-end developers since AI is doing it great now? I don't really know if AI is doing front-end development great. Because if you ask yourself, like, if I tried to give AI, like, let's say ChatGPT, okay, or Claude or whatever. Like, if I gave it an image of a fully finished UI, I mean, is it going to be able to make it in HTML and CSS? No. Like, so this whole AI stuff taking jobs, this is a largely conjecture at this point. Sorry, I can't talk. I mean, for instance, I've seen, for front-end developers, since AI is doing it great now. Yeah, I've seen the one area that I've seen AI have a big impact with, I think, would be things like Stack Overflow. Coders are using ChatGPT to help them fix errors, right? That's the biggest use case probably at this point in time right now. As far as it being like an AI agent solution where you're saying, do all this for me, we're not there, in my opinion. Unless there's some new tool that came out last week that I'm not certain about. It's just not there yet. So I'm not worried about that. And the only time to really get worried is when you see something and you use it yourself and you're like, okay, this is, otherwise these demos and stuff that they're putting out, they fake them. I mean, just look at Google did it. Like, the biggest company in the world did that with their AI product. So I'm not worried about the whole sky is falling yet. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this stream, start developing internet marketing skills, indie hacking skills, and that's going to be a really nice pivot if, in case, or when, it could be 10 years from now, this industry for the most part has been shrunk because AI is taken over. Again, just pivot, think about that stuff, as happening for sure. Don't freak out. Start developing, other skill sets like indie hacking, entrepreneurship, understanding basic econ, understanding niches and how to get into them. I think that would be a great pivot, for anybody. And also skills that lend themselves to what you are currently doing. You're a tech person. You're on the internet. You're on a computer all the time. Launch an internet business. Utilize your current skills now. It's only going to hurt you. It will never hurt you. It's only going to help you. I mean, it's never going to hurt you. All right. The most suggested platform that you would use to set up websites for clients. Again, it depends on the needs of the client and what platform you would choose. For instance, like, if somebody needed a website that's fully freaking dynamic and it has all these live chat features and stuff, I wouldn't be telling them to go with Framer or Webflow. They're going to need something more robust. So if you need something like a simple landing page, you cannot go wrong with Webflow. You can't go wrong with Framer. You can't go wrong with Wix Studio, which is their new one. So yeah, definitely check that out. But yeah, I think we're pretty good. We're pretty good. Yeah, I've already got an hour and 20 minutes. But hopefully you all enjoyed that. Definitely check out designcourse.com. There is the new all access pass that we have. If you want to learn UI UX, definitely check out the UI UX course. If I, I need to put a call to action here to actually buy the NAM course. But down here, we have that all access pass. This is a new thing we released in the last few days. You can get access to my 3 primary flagship courses for a big discount off. So it's $198 here with this discount, the package deal. But if you add the code like Stream30 or launch, I think you'll get even more off anyhow. So yeah, that was a good stream. I will see you guys all I'll see you guys next week with new videos. And unfortunately, if I didn't get to your review, make sure you idle there, and I'll do this next week and just be quick with how you submit them. All right, everybody. That was fun. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.